In today's video, we are going to be learning how to draw a foundation plan, and this is what a foundation plan looks like. This is exactly what we call a foundation plan. The beam carries this wall load, send it to the columns, which is then going to go via the columns to the footing. And to do that, we are going to navigate to options, element attribute, layer, model views. We are going to create in a new layer which is called beam. Once done, we are going to click on OK. We're actually going to create a story for the foundation. So right click on ground floor, down to story settings, insert below. We are going to set the story height to 1.20 meters. Once done, we are going to click OK. We now have a new story, which is the foundation. We can right click on story, move down to story settings, and just type in the name foundation, such that we just have our foundation. Once done, click OK. So we now have our foundation story, which is at -1.2. We are going to copy the columns on the ground floor and bring it down to the foundation. So right click on foundation, move to ground floor. On your keyboard, select column. On your keyboard, Ctrl A to select all the columns. Press Ctrl C on your keyboard to copy the columns. Navigate back to foundation story, Ctrl V to place the columns. Once done, right click and press OK. We are still going to click on columns, press Ctrl A to select the column. Double click on columns, and basically we are going to draw right up to ground floor. Start from foundation to ground floor. So we want it not to extend above 20, so we're going to put 0 this way, and we're equally going to change the size of the column. Instead of 0.15, we are going to add 0.20. Once done, we are going to click OK. Once we are done with that adjustment, we are going to dive into placing the beams. Click on design, navigate down on beams. Make sure we set our beams at the depth of 0.30 and on the width of 0.20. That's 30 by 20 centimeters beam. The idea of placing beams is that a wall should be carried by beam. So where there is a wall, you should have a beam on it, right? So you just trace out the walls. That's basically what I'm talking about. At this point, you're going to select from the center of this beam and draw right up to an endpoint here. You're going to do the same this way. You're going to select from the center point here and draw right up to this point. After placing the beams, we are going to move on to a very important aspect in this building, which is actually placing your axis line. Click on grid element, which is actually axis definition. We are going to double click on it and navigate down to floor plan section. We are going to change the color to arch, which is this arch. Once done, we are going to click OK, and we'll start placing our axis line. Select the center of this beam, start from point A this way, which is here, and draw down to point B, which is beneath here. My axis B is going to start, select from this pillar. It's going to start from up here down to the second point this way. Click on grid element, change from letter naming to numbers. Select the center of this beam, draw to this point. You can trace out to this other edge. Once you're done with all of this, you're going to press beam, Ctrl A on your keyboard, which is actually cool. Double click on it and then move to floor plan and sections. You're going to use your mouse pointer and drag this a little bit downwards, and make sure always show outline. You select that and change the color of the uncut line pen to green. Once done, click OK. So you want to make sure that your pen is green too, so right click, move down to true line width, and you're going to have your beam set out this way. It looks a little bit beautiful, and here is our beams well positioned. So we are going to move to the last aspect of foundation plan, which is actually placing the footings. So our wall sends its load to the beams, and our beam sends the load to the columns, and our column will send the load to the footing. And how do we do that? To draw the footing, we are going to click on slab firstly, And then our slab thickness, we are going to set it to 0.25. 0.25. Once done, we are going to click OK, and then we are going to draw a slab of pre-footing dimension of 1.1. Press tap on your keyboard 1.1, which means that we are assuming that our footing will be 1.1 meters. I'm going to select this footing, right click, move, drag multiple copies. We are going to search for the center of this column, and to do that, we are going to select on this first point, move to the second point, move to the third point, then navigate to this center point. We are going to select the center point, and wherever we see a column, we are going to place a footing. So we are just going to navigate and start placing this. So wherever we see a column, we are going to place a footing on it. We want to make sure that the footings are in the right layer, so we will change here from structural bearing down to footings, which will actually place it on the footing layer. So we have our footings all placed out. We are going to dimension the axis line, so click on dimension, select the first point. So we are going to select on the axis lines from here to here. We are going to select all of these. Edge to this part to this point to name the elements in this structure. Now for the beams, I would like to use text, and I'm going to write in GBE, which is ground beam. Put shift, and I'm going to write the section of the beam 20 by 30 centimeters, and then I'm just going to copy this and position it on some of the beams. So select from this point, right click, move, drag multiple copies. So you want to position it at all the beam edges. So after placing the beams, you are going to equally do the same for the columns. So for this structure, we have only one set of columns, which are P1, which will be 20 by 30 centimeters, and we have one footing, which is F1, which will be 1.1 by 1.1 meters. So we are going to click on text, type in P1. We are equally going to select the text, Ctrl Shift D to make a copy, place it this way, and type the footing F1. So I'm just going to place here F1. Select this and place somewhere here, search for a place and place it inside P1. Here is it. So this is the column P1 under the footing F1. So I'm going to select the column, right click, move, drag multiple copies. You're going to select the center of the column, and you're going to position it for all internal columns. So you're going to just position it this way. Now you see that it's not possible here, so you're going to shift it somewhere here, position it at the center. You just want to name the columns and the footings, so that's what you're doing. So if you carry out your structural analysis later and you discover that this footing is too heavy and you want to give it another name, maybe F2, you are going to change the annotation here and just have to expand the footing to the actual size. To verify your dimension, this long lines on the dimension is something I so detest. So I'm going to navigate down to Documents, Dimensions, press Ctrl A on my keyboard, double click, and I want to change the dimension line to the size height. This color, I love keeping them on hatch. And finally, for my text, I like to change them to red, which is always this red above here. Once done, I'm going to click OK, and we'll have something like this, which actually really makes sense. Well, if this is good to go, in the next video we're going to be doing the framework plan of this structure.